14th Amendment Invalidity by Anita Bell, J.D., President of the Reparations Labor Union and female co-chair of NCOBRA, Detroit. NCOBRA stands for the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. This is the recording of the presentation made during the NCOBRA meeting on March 9, 2025. Please watch the video about 13th Amendment invalidity for a review. To keep this video shorter, I won't repeat everything, but here's a preview. If you're wondering if the 15th Amendment is also invalid, yes. The 15th Amendment gave black men the right to vote. Black women didn't get the right to vote until white women did, with the 19th Amendment in 1920. But if the amendment that freed blacks from slavery is invalid, and the amendment giving blacks federal citizenship is invalid, then of course the amendment giving black men the right to vote in federal elections is invalid. Voting rights and citizenship, like slavery, becomes a state right. Who votes in federal elections? Federally, only landowners would have voting rights. Thus, blacks are being foreclosed upon like 2007 all over again. But I digress. Article 5 of the Constitution addresses how to amend or change the Constitution. The Supreme Court will rule on challenges to the proposal stage of making amendments. The 14th Amendment had tremendous problems with ratification because it occurred during Reconstruction. Reconstruction is a whole lecture on a hot mess by itself. Suffice it to say, the Supreme Court said that challenges on the ratification stage are injusticiable. That's the polite way of saying we're not touching that hot mess with a 12-foot pole. But the shit is going to hit the fan on the 14th Amendment because of the very last clause in Article 5 that is separated by a semicolon. Remember in the previous video on the 13th Amendment, I said lawyers are anal. So anal that even their punctuation is important. A semicolon leads to a clause that greatly impacts the proposal stage of amendment making. That being the provision wherein no state can be denied the state's right to vote in the Senate. What is the 14th Amendment? It's long, including a section that bans those who cause insurrections from holding office. Let me be blunt, but how can the January 6th insurrectionists be punished under an invalid federal law? I'm not agreeing with what they did. I'm just asking a legal question that sets a precedent that will be done to blacks. But let's just deal with the Section 1 for right now because that's the section most impacting non-whites. Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. The 14th Amendment did more than just give citizenship. It gave equal rights to blacks. And if that is reversed, then what will happen to everybody? That is a good question. What happened on March 27, 1866? As you may recall, it takes 2/3 votes of both houses of Congress to approve a proposed constitutional amendment. On this fateful voting day, in order to rig a 2/3 majority for the 14th Amendment, Senator John Potter Stockton of New Jersey was expelled. Remember, no state can be deprived its suffrage in the Senate without its consent, the 11 states that had joined the Confederacy were deemed to have consented to not be present at the vote of the 14th Amendment, even though the Civil War had ended almost a year earlier. However, New Jersey was not part of the Confederacy. John P. Stockton was a Northern Democrat with Southern slaveholding roots. He didn't want black men to be equal to him. So he was vocal in his intentions to vote against the 14th Amendment. In order to expel him with a 2/3 vote, the Senate changed the rules to deny Stockton the right to vote in his own expulsion, because he was the deciding vote. If Stockton had stayed, the 14th Amendment may have never passed, so he was expelled without his consent. Of course, for 159 years, the Senate could have voted again, except if 2/3 of the Senate feel the same as their ancestors. Still, last but not least, Lincoln was a Republican president, but not a Mason. His vice president, Andrew Johnson, was a Democrat and a Mason. Lincoln's widow, Mary Todd Lincoln, accused Johnson of being part of the conspiracy to assassinate her husband after the Civil War. Johnson then reversed Lincoln's Field Order 15 that was paying 40 acres and a mule to black freedmen. Have Masons and Democrats been sabotaging blacks' reparations for 160 years, even to the point of treason and murder? For Women's History Month, let's say her name, Mary Todd Lincoln. Her allegation was dismissed as crazy, but was she right? I believe in giving people a chance, and that includes Trump. He can be greater than Lincoln and keep the United States together by righting the wrongs of history. He and Elon Musk could pay reparations to the people of African descent from pie coin and asteroid mining. They could make peace and have a trade treaty with black Martians. They could be the Confederate soldiers who rescue the Princess of Mars and Marcus Garvey. But let's say they don't agree with Plan A. Maybe Canada will agree with Plan B. A black genocide case in the United Nations that results in blacks having a separate homeland just like Palestinians and Jews. After all, why should we remain citizens of a nation that lies about our freedom and citizenship for over a century? If Trump doesn't want to pay reparations, the alternative is a Republic of New Africa. Blacks should be free in our own land. And thinking militarily, that land must be more than 5 states, and those 5 states can't all be in the South. Michigan, bordering our Canadian ally, is strategic. Moreover, in our own black nation, blacks can be their own African selves. That includes legalizing polygamy. Too many black postmenopausal women say that they don't want to share a man, but I understand that we must reproduce after genocide, especially once we receive reparations. Instead of dividing families and making men choose, why not multiply and add? Especially if polygamous marriages are democratic. Reparations are a love story. Marcus Garvey wanted to return to Africa because he had 2 Amys. One Amy was the Black Star Line. The other Amy was the mother of his children. It would be nice if all black women were Wonder Women, but not all of us can be mothers and ships at the same time. 100 years later, blacks need both Amys, just in case blacks have to do Plan C, Black Martian motherships. Whether you like Plan A, reparations through Picoin, Plan B, a new underground railroad through Canada and the Republic of New Africa, or Plan C, an exodus to Mars, join the Reparations Labor Union. Membership is free for the first 1 million members before the blood moon on March 13th. Use referral code MOTHERSHIPS. Complete the application on skyqueenmother.com. Those interested in helping me save my house, a part of Detroit's new Underground Railroad, Canadians and everyone, donate at givebutter.com/reparations before the blood moon on Detroit Day, Thursday, March 13th. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Swing low.